I know we have a lot to cover tonight, so I just want to extend a warm welcome to everyone who's joined us. I love seeing a lot of familiar names and faces and a lot of new ones as well joining us this evening. So as I think many of you know, if you've interacted with CHERP, my name is Megan Anderson. I'm the Director of Admin and also the Workforce Development Project Manager here at CHERP. Or if Bearer of Many Hats was an official job title, that would probably be the one that I have. And if you come into contact and with CHERP, you will probably interact with me at one point or another. But once again, I'm really thrilled to have you all here. It means a really lot for you to be with us tonight and hear the updates that we were going to share. I know we say this a lot, but we truly couldn't do this without all of you. Your love and support are what propel us forwards, and therefore all the achievements that we're going to tell you about are also your achievements in one way or another. So welcome and thank you for joining us. And a couple reminders. Please don't unmute yourself during the presentation. That allows everyone to hear the presenters clearly. There will be Q&A at the end, so you'll have a chance to ask questions then. And also for the best viewing experience, if you go to the right upper hand corner of your screen and click gallery view, that will ensure, sorry, not gallery view, click speaker view. That way when our presenters are speaking, their box and their face will highlight on your screen. Other than that, it's my pleasure to introduce Jen Rosen, who's going to play us a beautiful song to get us in the mood for this evening. Jen holds an MFA in Fine Arts along with a teaching credentials. She's the co-founder and operates an arts enrichment business called Otter Space Arts, as well as a meditation art retreat business called Dreaming Lodge. She studied craniosacral therapy through Unpledger Institute, and she incorporates a combination of craniosacral therapy, somatic emotional release, guided meditation, energy work, and toning into healing her audience. So at that, I'm going to unspotlight myself, and here's Jen.
Hello, everyone. So I'm so grateful to be invited to share a little song with everyone. And I know we've all had busy days in all different ways. And this song is just a chance for you guys to just switch gears, just take a breath, connect in with why you're here and the people you're here with. So this is a little original song that's called Made of Love. We're made of love and a beautiful soul. We shine a light that stretches far into the future that unfolds, and we can reach out for a hand to hold. 'Cause we've got strength within our numbers. We weren't put here all alone. 'Cause we're all gonna heal this dream. Nothing's quite the way that it seems. Every heart here was born to be free. And we will be. 'Cause we're made of love and a beautiful soul. And like a seed, our hearts were planted in this world to bloom and grow, and we will wake up in our own time, and we will heal and love and learn until we're ripe upon the vine. 'Cause we're all gonna heal this dream. Nothing's quite the way that it seems. Every heart here was born to be free, and we will be, 'cause we're made of love and a beautiful soul. We shine a light that stretches far into the future that unfolds, and we can reach out for a hand to hold. 'Cause we've got strength within our numbers. We weren't put here all alone. 'Cause we're all gonna heal this dream. Nothing's quite the way that it seems. Every heart here was born to be free, and we will be, 'cause we're made of love. Thank you all. Thank you for listening.
Jen, thank you so much. That was wonderful. Thank you. It was beautiful. Good evening, everyone. I join Megan and Jen in thanking you all for being here today. Each person on this call, it strikes me, has embraced CHERP's mission, and you've made an investment in CHERP with your money, with your time, with your art, with your partnership, with sharing your expertise. And for all of your contributions, we are profoundly grateful to you. Thank you. My name is Rod Brooks, and I'm pleased to have just joined CHERP on a part-time basis as Director of Development. Little about me, I've spent my 30-year career in the nonprofit sector. I helped lead an effort to build a new museum in Raleigh, North Carolina, where I live and where I am right now. I was the CEO of a global hunger relief organization for 13 years, and most recently, I was CEO of a national fundraising organization. In short, I'm committed to helping others create positive social impact at scale. And that's why I'm so excited to be working with CHERP, because our vision is so big and the impact that we can make here is just remarkable. So I am really delighted to be a part of this team and to join you all tonight. Let me describe our agenda for today so you have an idea of what to expect here. First, Devon Hartman, CHERP CEO, will describe CHERP's vision to build out the locally grown power network of factories around the country that will deliver on our mission to stop global warming, to bring back middle-class jobs, to stimulate local economies, and to halt environmental injustice. Devon will also describe our progress toward achieving that vision, and he'll describe what's next for us. We'll hear about our strategic partners, and TSO Greenhouses, one of those partners, will describe how we are collaborating to realize this powerful vision. Kent Kernahan, inventor and founder of idealPV, will then describe the technical challenges we've faced over the last year and how we've overcome them to make CHERP's solar panels and the way we manufacture them even more effective and increase our resilience. You'll also hear from a few of our donors about how they've supported this effort, and you'll learn about several ways that you can help. And finally, Devon will conclude by describing CHERP's engagement with the LA County Energy Plan, and this is really exciting. So our presentation will end by 6 p.m., but we'll be staying on the call afterward to answer any questions that you may have. So please keep that in mind throughout the presentation today. What I'd like to say is that by the end of today's event, I believe you'll feel first inspired by CHERP's vision to hear just what we're talking about creating. I think you'll also feel impressed by the progress that we've made and the challenges that we've overcome in the last year and the partnerships that we've created. And I think you'll even feel more committed, perhaps, to helping us along this journey. So again, thank you for being here. Without further ado, I'm pleased to introduce Devon Hartman.
Good evening, everybody. It's very exciting to see all of your names popping up as you're climbing on and joining us for tonight. like it has been expressed before already, even here tonight, we are super serious about business. We're super serious about technology. We're super serious about making a difference, but we're also super serious about coming from our hearts and coming as a united force together as a community to make a difference. So that's what's being displayed here tonight. And we're just grateful for all of your participation. I'd like to dig right in. I'm going to share my screen here, and I want to show you some things that we've been working on during this last year, during a time of COVID. This is our celebration of milestones for the end of 2021. And first of all, I think just to set the context, I'd like to kind of talk about the background as the news media is talking about the pandemic of COVID. Many people here on this call understand that the mother of all pandemics has been playing out for the last 15 years. And for the last 10 years, according to the latest study out of Harvard in last month, is that we are now experiencing 8 million deaths per year due to the burning of fossil fuel and the creation of indoor and outdoor air pollution. 8 million deaths a year is about the size of New York City, and that is in contrast to the 3 million deaths per year of only the last 2 years of COVID. The next pandemic, of course, is the changing climate due to the burning of those fossil fuels. And the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change just this year, once again, said we are not meeting our goals. We still have time, but not much. This is actually the final clarion call, and they're suggesting that the story is not yet written, but they're asking us to decide how will this end, because they have now said it's basically up to us. You know, the other issue that we focus on out of the 4 of our main mission areas is the idea that even in this last pandemic, over the last 2 years, another few $1 trillion have worked its way to the top 400 people in the United States, leaving millions of people more below the poverty line and suffering in environmentally degraded environments, cities, and facing all kinds of welfare, health, and economic problems. So we are 100% committed to working on solving some of the major problems of our time. And we have created a scalable solution to address that. And every day we at CHERP and all of our volunteers derive a lot of comfort from feeling like we are a story of hope, because we really know that the ending is not yet written. We have something to say about that. So who are we? CHERP Solar Works is an organization, a nonprofit organization that builds solar factories for other nonprofit organizations in disadvantaged communities across America. We have a 4-fold mission. Number 1, stop global warming. Number 2, bring back the thousands and thousands of middle-class manufacturing jobs that were sent overseas over the last 40 years. Stimulate local economies, because without jobs, local economies have floundered and have faltered and have resulted in, even in the state of California, 250,000 people living under bridges. And finally, we are 100% committed to halting environmental injustice in every city we find ourselves in. So how are we going to do this? We have 2 tremendous strategic advantages. I would even say, in business terms, 2 unfair strategic advantages that are really going to make a difference for us. Number 1, we are deploying the most advanced solar panel technology in the world. We could spend a couple hours just talking about that, but Kent will tell you tonight about some of the latest discoveries, even within his invention that we've been working on this year. And we're going to take that solar technology, and we're going to deploy it in an enlightened nonprofit business model across the country so that we can keep the profits local, re-injected into local communities so that we can have maximum economic expansion impact in the communities that need it the most. So in the last 2 years, we have been able to create the world's first nonprofit solar panel assembly factory in the world in Pomona, California. For those of you who have not been able to be with us yet on one of our tours, you can see this is a photograph of the inside of our factory. We have completed the factory and we are getting ready for submittal to UL approval. And this is what we believe will be the beginning of the American solar manufacturing renaissance. Many of you know, of course, that we used to make solar cells in the United States. We used to make solar panels in the United States, but currently 94% of all the solar panels being deployed in the United States right now come from Asia. That creates a huge trade deficit, not only for our local communities, but for our nation as well. So let's take a look back. I wanted to share this with you all and just kind of show you the timeline of where we've been and where we're going. Back in 2009, CHERP was founded. In 2011, idealPV was founded. The first patent in idealPV was issued in 2015, and that happens to be the exact same year that CHERP and idealPV formed a strategic partnership. Back from 2011 all the way currently, the intellectual property development and product prototypes have been iterated to the point that we are now on generation 7 of the controller card, housing all of the intellectual property. A white paper has just been written that was being worked on by the physicists at Harvey Mudd College. That was just produced by Professor Richard Haskell, a physicist emeritus at Harvey Mudd College. I saw him on the phone tonight. Hi, Dick. Thanks for joining us. And thank you for all the work you've put in over the last 4 years on this project. You all remember in 2019, the state of California gave us $2.1 million. We raised another $1 million through support from you all to start and build the factory. And that factory was completed and built this year. We built this factory during COVID, for which we are extremely proud. Now, in 2021, we have been working on internal testing and getting ready for UL certification. And that certification will be submitted for, this is where we are right now, the current date, will be submitted, and we expect certification by April. Down here in the phase 5, we've already begun phase 5. The phase 5 goal is to start 3 new factories this next year. And in fact, we'll be starting 2 next month that I'll talk to you about, and 1 in the middle of the year with Homeboy Industries in East LA. So the real goal from the very beginning has been to perfect our technology and prototype the factory process and then start rolling it out at scale across the country. So this next year, we will begin at least 3 new factories. And then after that, we'll be replicating at 5, 10, and 15 per year. So welcome to our factory. As you can tell from the numbers, each factory produces an extraordinary suite of numbers. Massive amounts of greenhouse gas mitigation, over 700 direct and indirect jobs, and an economic expansion of 147 million over 15 years in the local economy. And those numbers get pretty extraordinary when we get up to about 10 factories. We will have been creating over 7,000 jobs and expand local economies into the billions. So here's the essential goal. This is what we're working on. In order to do a manufacturing renaissance, we've decided to create a nonprofit solar panel assembly company that will be building factories for a nonprofit solar panel factory network across the country. So we're starting in California. This revolution will start here in Los Angeles County. And right now we are in conversation with 15 other cities around the country to start their factories. I've seen many names this evening come on board. We have core energy groups that we call interested leaders from around the country in their communities who want to bring this opportunity to their community. We are getting ready next month to start with House of Hope in January to open our first 2 factories, one in West Virginia and one in San Bernardino. So what we'll be doing is we will be launching, CHERP will launch these factories and then recede into providing network services and support throughout the network. But the interesting thing about this network is that it stands in sharp contrast to a for-profit endeavor. Number one, it's focused on equity and justice first versus the idea of trickle-down. We all know now that trickle-down economy does not work for our most struggling communities. It's regenerative in nature rather than extractive because we will recirculate profits locally. It's patented technology. This is interesting for everybody to understand. The patented technology will accrue to the nonprofit network. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. The network is also set up to be mutually supportive to provide aid to each other node in the network in terms of sharing of materials, expertise, technology, and machinery. So that makes this an extremely resilient, distributed factory network across the country. A word that everyone is struggling to define and understand, the idea of being nimble and resilient. So welcome to our world-class factory in Pomona, California. You are all invited to come visit and spend some time with us as we think about starting to replicate. So it's really my pleasure right now to take a turn into kind of describing some of our strategic partners that we have met along the way. I want to describe 3 stories of 3 of our partners that have kind of surfaced, heard about us, contacted us, and we've formed very strong relationships with. And there are many, many more stories in formation currently. The first one I want to talk to you about is called House of Hope. House of Hope is an opioid recovery facility that will be working on setting up recovery facilities around the country. Another epidemic that's going on in this country right now is the opioid epidemic. And I'm sure many of you have heard the latest conversations in the news that right now, every 5 minutes, a person dies from opioid overdose in America. Now, House of Hope heard about us and came to us because of our mission, because House of Hope, one of their bylines is that there is no recovery without a job. So House of Hope has committed to building a solar panel factory right next to their recovery facility every time they open a new facility. And the next one that will be opening next month, one will be in Joe Manchin's territory in West Virginia. Parenthetically, Joe Manchin also has an earmark in our federal budget, once that's released, to help with that effort of building a factory in his territory. And the second factory will be in San Bernardino. San Bernardino and West Virginia both share the struggling problem of opioid addiction. Our second highlighted strategic partner this evening is Homeboy Industries in East Los Angeles. Homeboy is the largest gang rehabilitation and reentry program in the world, located right here in our backyard in East Los Angeles. And we are now in a formal partnership with Homeboy Industries to start a solar panel assembly factory to join with their other suite of businesses and social enterprises. And one of the reasons, because we have many overlapping missions, but one of the reasons that Homeboy is partnering with us is because their motto is nothing stops a bullet like a job. Now, I'm going to talk about our latest formal partnership. And I'm going to share this screen because I grew up in Wichita, Kansas in the 50s. This was my vision, my kind of mind's vision of what it was like to grow up in Kansas. I spent time on my uncle's farm, spent time in the fields of Kansas, spent a lot of time in my mother's extensive garden. Everybody had food. Everybody around us was growing food. And now this is what Kansas looks like. Kansas has been bought by multinational corporations and globalization. And nobody on this call thinks that this is a good idea. The only people that do are people like Monsanto. So what has happened in the last 50 years in Kansas is that currently 800,000 Kansans do not have access to healthy food within a reasonable distance of their home. So that means that 30% of Kansas counties are classified right now as food deserts. So enter our latest partner, TSO Greenhouses. They have a motto of locally grown vegetables and opportunity for rural areas in Kansas and other places in the country. We immediately struck up a conversation and a love affair, quite frankly, with their people and with their mission and their technology, because our whole locally grown power brand was started because of the idea of the value of a locally grown tomato and what that represents in terms of local richness in a local economy, grown and manufactured by local people, neighbors for neighbors. So the idea around TSO Greenhouses is they have patented technology with a louver over greenhouses that adjust by the sunshine so that we can optimize sunlight on the plants. Those louvers will also contain idealPV solar technology now that we've formed a relationship. The idea around this, of course, is very similar to locally grown power. They can co-locate greenhouses next to giant supermarkets and wipe out the two biggest problems in supply chain technology, supply chain economics for produce. Those two things being transportation and spoilage. So now supermarkets in disadvantaged communities across Kansas can have next day fresh organic vegetables delivered right to the door. So they are optimizing sunlight with patented louver control technology. They have the highest crop yield inside the greenhouses in the world, and they'll be generating energy on top of their structures. So this is the thing that I would like to share with you. They have just last week given us a huge gift equaling about $1.2 million. One of the things that they are giving to us is the capability of purchasing the machinery to make the controller cards that Kent has reinvented this year. This machinery would have cost us about $300,000 to be able to create the jobs and make this technology in-house. So what TSO Greenhouses has done is they are not only going to be providing us the capital equipment to make the controller cards, they're going to be giving us the controller cards at cost over the next years. And they're also going to be developing blueprints for how we can make the machinery ourselves for the next factories that we roll out. That is a combined, very creative gift of over $1.2 million in total gift opportunity for CHERP. And I'd like to right now introduce Mark Riggs, the CEO of TSO Greenhouses, to share with us why he has joined forces with CHERP. Mark, are you out there? Thanks for joining us tonight.
I am, Devon, and thank you, and to everybody here that's taking time out of their day to be a part of this. First off, every time I talk, Dev, I'm ready to jump up and run through a wall. I don't know how you do that to me, but it's pretty impressive. Again, we are TSO Greenhouses. Our mission is not the exact same, but it parallels in kind that we want to re-empower communities. And in doing so, we understand the implications of water preservation. Greenhouses use about less than 10% of field farming. It also doesn't have the impact of polluting ground soils with pesticides and controlled environment agriculture. The problem with greenhouses is energy. They are poorly insulated, just some generalizing of our company and our technology. They're poorly insulated structures, and they actually have a lot of problem with letting too much sunlight come in, ironically. And a lot of our grid system is inadequate and very expensive. And there's a monopoly. If you have to plug in the grid, you have large power demand, and greenhouses do with HVAC systems, water irrigation, large pumps, etc. So my partner and co-founder, who's really the brains behind this, I'm just a lucky guy that met him, is David Henson. And sorry to do this to you, David. I know he's super handsome, everybody. All right, that's David. And David is an engineer from Kansas, similar to Devon. So the brotherhood of the Kansas boys got created very quickly. And David had an idea on a problem solution in Hawaii on a land project. And basically in Hawaiian, it means the Crazy Crab Cove, literally. And from that, we started working after he was trying to raise capital, and it's funny, I don't even know how many iterations of our technology. We probably should have kept track, but we came into proximity of CHERP, Kent, and their whole gang, and just, really, it is true. We love these people, all of them, and the main draw for us is their technology. So I'd like to kind of give Kent and his team really I know he's going to talk a lot about his technology, and I'm sorry, Kent, to grab a little bit of this, but the reason we're so dedicated is our technology creating shade and power at the same time. Inherently, we have shading issues, which creates potential accelerated degradation of our solar panels, which we're not trying to put more stuff in the landfills. We're trying to help the environment. Furthermore, we have a lot of disciplines that we have to address, focus, and be concentrated on. The technology, thank God for Kent, and I mean it, has come up with has really given us a break in the case that we can really target our focus and our energies and all the other related disciplines that we have, and kind of have a little bit of a relief as it pertains to these concerns of hot spotting, degradation, problems. And as an early important technology, you're kind of the new kid on the block, the wise guy. your solar system's not operating properly because of these issues, being able to eliminate that kind of, I guess, avenue for people to doubt our company is a huge upside benefit. Furthermore, there's a true commitment, and if I'm sure everybody here has at least got a taste of Devon's commitment to this country and to local communities, and really creating equitable opportunities for all. That's our model as well. Large industrial farming is, and forgive me if anybody's related to this, I'm not taking a cheap shot, but it's a scourge to our planet. It just is. And it was created by laziness and good weather in California. It's a concentration problem, and localized farming, it's such a disadvantage to try to get into it from a cost perspective. So, our mission to reinvest and put power to the people to get them healthy foods so their kids aren't eating pesticides and poor food, or watching food get thrown into dumps and adding to methane and carbon emissions, is really where we're coming from. And the neat thing about the power of the network, and Devon talks a lot about this, and I would like to feel we get this, we get to hold this banner in our corporate history, is I think we're kind of the realization of what Devon and I got to give Ken a little of this as well, their collective vision of not just monies and things of this effect, but people, not just their goodwill, but their talents, their missions. And the beautiful thing about the control card story is we're like, whoa, you guys have a problem. Guess what? My partner, again, El Guapo here, Mr. Handsome, that guy, knows how to build control cards and has done it successfully in his career of 30 years of being an engineer. He likes doing it, which is kind of makes him even more special. So we, in looking through this kind of litany, and Kent, the inventor of the idealPV and the control card and the what we just are mind boggled, AI smart solar, we have all these names for it, made the card or designed the card in a way that manufacturing it, we feel, is the probability of doing it and doing it really well, because it was so thoroughly thought through by Ken, is something we can tackle. We've had some, because now this is interesting, because of their technology, it's allowed us to redesign our technology, which has in turn created cost savings, which this is how wild this is, which created some budgetary freedoms for us to in turn help CHERP back and build the card. So by what their technology allows us to do, it allows us to reallocate our budget and in turn help them in a jam and really kind of push forward. So it's been unbelievable. I mean, we're tickled. They're tickled pink with us. We're tickled pink with them. The gift itself, again, we have no dog in the fight. We're not competitors. We never will be competitors, which is another beautiful thing. There are so many of these opportunities. You're always looking over your shoulder, concerned with where things are. And, in this case, their technology and our technology, there are parallel lines that will never intersect. And we can feel so much freedom in working with them as they can with us. And that means us giving this gift, not just once, but empowering like Homeboy Network, like, hey, if you're out there, we're going to help you build that card and show you how to do it, not just be able to get you the cards you're going to need. Why? Well, one day you'll be building those cards, and if we're in a jam, we're going to be able to buy those cards right back from you when we have projects or get overruns. So we feel that talk is great, but if you can actually ignite Devon and Kent's vision of the power of the network, the realization, this was the opportunity to do it, and we couldn't be more pleased. And boy, if we can enjoy this relationship, and we're so excited for the future. So thank you for your time. That's TSO, and thanks again to everybody.
Thank you so much, Mark. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful gift, and we're looking forward to what we can provide together in the state of Kansas and beyond. Next, I'd like to introduce my friend and partner, Kent Kernahan. Kent's invention and commitment to this deployment mechanism has been awe-inspiring to me from the very beginning. And it's my pleasure to introduce Kent Kernahan to you, the inventor of the technology and the deployment mechanism that we are now launching throughout the country. Thanks, Kent.
Well, thanks, Devon. And hello from snowy Corvallis, Montana. Hopefully somebody give me the high sign if we're not actually transmitting and if the microphone didn't turn. I was fiddling with it there. In any case, also thanks for those kind words from Mark Riggs. He didn't describe his bio. When he talks about running through walls, he actually means that literally. He's served his country in the Special Forces. So we really appreciate his support, and I really appreciate the compliments there. We're here to talk tonight about resilience. In fact, the product itself was really the core proposition in preventing hotspots from forming is really a resilient concept. But in so doing, the way that we executed the product, we also not just avoided that, but also became resilient to weather and achieved remarkable performance gains. Now, this graph is a little weird. I've been taught by Devon that we should really kind of describe it. These are histograms. What we're looking at is data from the field trial that was run independently by Harvey Mudd College. And what this is this is a graph of all the data taken during a phase of the field trial. And so what you see across the bottom here is power yield per day going up as it gets closer and closer to me. So more power yielded per day comes this way. And then the measurements at that power level per day, that energy yield per day, they go upward. So you see a number, you see a square like this, it means maybe there was one or two or a handful of days that hit that very, very high performance level. You see a level up like that, for example, there, that was a huge number of days that achieved that amount of energy. So what you're looking at is a chart of all of the data from the idealPV trailer, that's it right there, which is identical in every way to the control trailer that's over there. All of the data for the idealPV, all of the data for the controls. The control solar modules we used were the closest to the state-of-the-art, highest quality we could find in Japanese solar modules. And so what you see here is that the very, very best day, maybe there was only 1 or 2 or 3 days that were like that for the legacy, that is the technology that exists before idealPV, for the legacy solar panels is worse than the very worst day for the idealPV solar modules. And in fact, the average, those are those dotted lines, was much, much higher, over 50% higher in terms of energy yield per day for the idealPV modules. Now, we used slightly less efficient cells. We used inferior glass. This is really a reflection of the heavy lift of the technology, not really the underlying materials of the solar cells or the panels themselves. Okay, so world's best solar module. Check. But that's not good enough. We also have to be resilient to damage. In here, we're talking about massive internal damage. All these dark areas are fractured cells. 75% of the cells in this module were damaged in a shipping accident. Yet the module produced 83% of its rated power. That's especially remarkable when you consider that in an idealPV, the module, the solar cell part of the technology, all of the electrons that come out have to flow through every single cell in the solar panel. And we have to sort out with our electronics how to come up with the optimal operating point to make all of these work, the ones that only have a few little cracks in them versus the ones that have entire sections damaged. Okay, so resilient to internal damage, but that's not good enough either, not for mainstream solar deployments the way we see it. At the end of this session, please take a second to Google the 3 words Reuters, Tesla, and SEC, and you will find an article from about 48 hours ago that attributes fires like this one in Inyo, California, in a Walmart store to connectors. Now, this has been going on for a while. It's been variously asserted that, well, no, it was hotspots or installation errors. Who knows? The point is that if you can say that a defective connector can do this, keep in mind connectors are meant to be plugged and unplugged. They will fail. The problem is not that the connector failed. The problem is that there were no redundancies in the solar panels. In this case, I believe these are Trina solar panels, to actually deal with the failure of a connector. You would need to have 3 simultaneous failures in an ideal PV plus the connector in order to get something like this. That's more akin to the master-slave braking system in your car, where you're not counting on one valve to stop your car. We take the same philosophy in ideal PVs. Great, so we're resilient to internal, external damage and weather, and we have the highest performance module. What about the factory? What about the model that builds this thing? Well, here's a good news, bad news story. At the beginning of the formation of the Pomona factory, they had the good fortune to get a donated laminator. That was great news. Unfortunately, there was hidden damage in it, and it was resolved after a few months that a replacement was needed. Well, the team pivoted off of fixing to finding, found one, but it was on the East Coast, and they had to go get it. And it was about this time last year, in the middle of winter, and in the middle of COVID, with no vaccines. So this meant a couple of guys are going to have to risk their personal health to go all the way across the country, pack this thing up, and bring it back. Ron and Jason didn't even have to be asked. They jumped at this thing. And it was really amazing, heroic effort. So they did it. There's Jason triumphantly on top of this thing on the East Coast just before he took a wrench to it, and he and Jason took these things completely apart, put them on a couple of big rigs, shipped them across the country, and then reassembled them. That's it back there. That's where all of the solar modules are being made in Pomona right now, and brought it up in record time. That's the kind of spirit that makes a venture like this practical. We had our own issues. You've probably heard in the news about the worldwide supply chain problem with semiconductors. Well, yeah, that happened. This little part over here, the one that's black and has like leads on one side and some leads on the other, those 2 silver areas. Okay, that thing suddenly went to a 1-year lead time. Very popular part. Lots of people use it still in production. We used it in the field trials. We've been using it for years. It's a fine part, but we can't get it. So we needed to replace it. Same manufacturer, different package. So we took this part and redesigned the board to take that part with the leads all the way around it. Did you notice something though? It looked like more than just that changed. Let's go back. So this is the way it was with the old chip, and this is the way it is with the new chip. Now I'm going to put all the rest of the letters and stuff back on the assembly aids for the solar module. This just shows the parts. We made 50 changes between those 2 revisions. We literally moved all of the inputs from one side of the board to the other, to make it easier for the team in the Pomona factory to assemble the solar module. We actually went and changed out some of the parts that were also long lead time that we weren't having huge problems with, but were issues. We tweaked the values of some parts. We actually removed a whole bunch of things and reduced the cost and simplified the whole assembly. This is the Generation 7 controller that we're going to market with. you'd think we'd be done. Mark Stewart, he's the brilliant part of our team that does all of this hardware design, designs these circuit boards, comes up with these elaborate hardware configurations. Hello? Anyway, Mark ended up having to deal with a local supply chain issue or two. The assembly house that we've used for years apparently is out of business, COVID. We even had a magnet wire shortage. He pivoted off of being a design and just superb architect to figuring out where to get it built, doing some of the building himself, and there's the fleet of ETL certification ready controller cards for the idealPVs. After we get into the market, we also need a resilient business model. We've got that. There are detailed presentations on this for you to go take a look at. The takeaway from this meeting is it's really got the best of for-profit and nonprofit features, including all of the access to all of the things, the tax issues and all that stuff for the for-profit, all of the donation credits and that sort of thing for the nonprofit. And then we need an architecture to build this in at scale. And what we're doing is locally grown power, which is built as a distributed factory. In the beginning, we had the single line factory from Henry Ford. The big breakthrough there was the mega factory, which is multiple identical modules, all making the same device so that if any one machine or person has a problem, you can continue production. What we do is go to the next step. We take the mega factory apart, put the individual modules as micro factories right next to the markets that they serve. Among other things, it makes us disaster-proof, as Mark Riggs was describing to you. We've also done some other things that are rather groundbreaking. For example, we're pioneering a single license with an ever-growing IP portfolio. When Devon signed up with us, there was just the one patent, the FOZHS algorithm that prevents hotspots. The patent for the solar module itself, the one that is resilient to all that damage, that didn't happen until a year later. Now there are 6+ patents pending, including for a lot of these advanced safety features. All of those are covered in the original license agreement without any structure, without any economic impact. So the longer CHERP is involved in this program, the richer the intellectual property will be. And then, of course, the concept of a microfactory in a community itself is a center of gravity that will attract people, supply chain, even technologies, of which TSO Greenhouses is an extreme example of a technology being attracted to the underlying idealPV technology and the locally grown power business model. Turns out that resilience synonym is tough. We've got a tough product, tough dedicated people, a resilient distributed factory, and smart regenerative economics in our business model. So thanks for your time tonight. Next up, you can learn how to become resilient supporters of locally grown power. Have a good evening.
Kent, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And the word resilient certainly will be a word that sticks with us. And for any of you that have questions about the technical aspects that Kent covered, he will be here to answer questions at the end of our program here. Let me just add at this point that realizing our vision for a national locally grown power network means establishing additional factories, as Devon mentioned, in California and in other locations throughout the country. And this, of course, requires an investment of millions of dollars, including an investment of $65 million in Los Angeles County alone, which Devon's going to speak to in just a few minutes. We expect this funding will come from federal, state, and local grants, as well as private social investment, local bonds, and generous contributions from individuals, corporations, and foundations over the next several years. But the benefit of this investment is remarkable. According to a study that was conducted by Pomona College, the economic impact of our network of solar panel factories will create is equal to 7 times our investment. In the meantime, however, as this funding is sourced, we have to continue to fund the services that will enable CHERP's growth. And towards that end, I'm excited to announce our immediate goal to raise $600,000 over the next 6 months. Now, as you heard, TSO Greenhouses' contribution of machinery provides $355,000 toward that goal. And that's not even including, of course, the additional significant ongoing savings for the controller cards and the blueprints for the factory for building the machinery ourselves as we replicate, which Devon described. Beyond TSO's generous donation, we also have more than $50,000 additionally already contributed. So we are well on our way. Now, I'm pleased to introduce you to a couple of the donors who are helping us launch this campaign. Champions in our efforts so far, Carol and John Holder directed $20,000 from their donor-advised fund that was matched by the HalfMyDAF Foundation for another $20,000. That's creating a $40,000 contribution in total to CHERP. Carol and John, thank you for being here with us tonight. Would you please tell us why you have provided your support to CHERP in this way? I'm delighted to have you.
Thanks, Rod.
Thank you. Well, we supported CHERP with this donation from our donor advised fund because we believe in the things we care about are the things that all of you are working toward and care about, and it's reduction in reliance on fossil fuels, the improving and strengthening local economies with jobs, addressing environmental injustice, and doing all of this with this really exciting, sustainable, replicable model of manufacturing. I grew up in Wisconsin. My dad worked for Uniroyal. He was a factory guy. My mom came from a farm. I spent my summers on the farm. So I've got that kind of background. John's a physicist from Harvey Mudd, actually.
I did.
And so he understood parts of this presentation tonight that I kind of missed, but it's incredibly exciting. It's gratifying to see the talents involved here and the energy, the enthusiasm for this, and the heart that's behind it all. I mean, this is just, it's like, you know, it's like a dream for us. We have a small donor advised fund. We were happy to make this grant to CHERP, and we were lucky that it lined up with one of the goals of the HalfMyDAF program. So they selected our grant to CHERP as one that they would match. So we are thrilled about that.
Yeah, and I just want to say, even tonight, I'm more excited than I thought I could possibly be. I'm going to be looking for ways to improve. This seems like the perfect thing for people like us who really do want to make a difference, but don't really have the, well, I don't know, perhaps we have the skills, but at any rate, to be able to donate to CHERP and maybe to get involved in other ways. I must say, it's exciting to be able to do something so important. And there's nothing more important than what CHERP is doing.
Yeah. And all I can say is thank you to all of you. The work that you are doing is simply amazing.
Well, Carol, John, thank you so much for your support and your partnership. I mean, I like you all, I think I see this as a long-term partnership that we're all working to create together. And each of us is kind of taking one step in front of the other. And we're grateful for the tremendous step that you've taken with us. So thank you for that. Thank you for creating such a good example for us to share. And thank you for just sharing your perspective and, again, your partnership with us. Let me share another example too. So CHERP has also benefited from the creativity and in-kind support that many of you have offered. International artist Peter Erskine uses prisms and mirrors to manipulate ordinary sunlight. He creates immersive ever-changing rainbow light environments that heal and awaken our hearts and minds. He has featured installations all over the world, including locations like Italy and Spain. Devon will be sharing some photos here. And as you can see here, Peter has also created a new installation that is a hallmark feature of our Pomona factory. You can see it in the model here that he created to test the work. Pictured here are the prisms installed in skylights in the roof. And throughout the day, sunlight and the rainbow of colors produced by the prisms will stream throughout the factory. Now, Peter's generous gift, it includes the art installation itself and even $15,000 to pay for its construction and installation. So this is a great example of the type of both cash and in-kind support that we can utilize. And what a tremendous asset to have as part of our factory. And imagine working in such a special place where you're on a daily, hourly basis reminded of the impact that you're making as you're making these solar panels. So we want to thank Peter for his support. Peter, if you're on the call, thank you so much. And again, we're so grateful. So as you can see from these examples, there are a variety of ways in which you can support CHERP's efforts. Let me list just a few. Please consider making a year-end donation to our annual fund. You can consider making a multi-year major gift pledge. Consider donating appreciated stock or other assets, whether it's real estate or other assets that you may have. You might direct a charitable distribution from your donor-advised fund, as John and Carol did, or perhaps from your IRA. You also might consider including CHERP in your estate plans and making an in-kind contribution of equipment. While many of these approaches are straightforward, some of them aren't so much so, but I want you to know that CHERP has professional charitable planning specialists available to work right alongside you and your financial advisor to help guide your decision-making and to maximize, frankly, your tax advantages. So please know that we do have those resources available to help. What I'd like to say now is that, having heard from, these generous donors and about some of the ways that you can help CHERP, I want to give you the opportunity to get started right away. Now, let's take just a minute to reflect on what you've heard. Envision a national network of locally grown power factories. Think of the partners like Homeboy Industries, like TSO Greenhouses, and think of the people that they serve who will benefit from our collaboration. See us reversing climate change to benefit our children and the generations that follow our children. Picture economically challenged communities becoming prosperous through the creation of new jobs and economic development. Picture the low and the middle income families who will benefit from cutting edge solar technology that they otherwise would not have had access to, and what they'll be able to spend their money on instead of electricity, things like food and education and healthcare. With that vision in mind, just if you would take a moment to collect your thoughts. Take a minute just to think about, what, as Carol and John suggested, what does this mean to you? What elements of this mission really resonate with you? As you collect your thoughts, I just have to say that this is an incredible project with impact that goes well beyond manufacturing solar panels. And it's the impact at scale that has me, frankly, so excited to be working with this incredible, dedicated, smart, and visionary team at CHERP. So please consider the impact that you can make. And let me suggest that if you're interested in making a gift to CHERP of more than $5,000, we'd like to speak with you individually. This will give us the opportunity to learn more about your philanthropic goals, how you're most interested in supporting CHERP, and it'll give us the opportunity to share with you information about ways to give that are most advantageous from a tax perspective. So here on the screen, Devon has shared our email addresses. Please reach out to Devon or myself, and we'll follow up with you just as an expression of your interest. Feel free also to send us a direct message in the chat. We'll also be looking at the chat from today. Now, if you're inspired, as I know many of you are, I am, if you're inspired to make a donation today, Devon's going to share a QR code. You can scan the QR code on your screen, or we're also posting a link here in the chat. You can click on the link to make your contribution online right now. So you can scan the QR code that's on the screen, or you can click on the link in the chat. But just please know that all the contributions that are made tonight are greatly appreciated, and each and every one helps us reach our goal. Now, here's another piece to this. Regardless of when you plan to do so, if you plan to give any amount to CHERP, any amount, please take this opportunity to let us know by typing yes right now in the chat. Typing yes right now in the chat, expressing your commitment tonight, will inspire others to give. And honestly, it means the world to us. So please, again, if you plan to give any amount to CHERP, please let us know by typing yes in the chat. I want to thank Betty and Hayden, Richard, Abby, thank you. Lee, thank you for your commitment. Carol and John, thank you. Yes, absolutely. You know, again, your commitment tonight, just typing yes here, expressing your support here, is an inspiration to others. And we are so grateful for your support. Steve, thank you. Beverly, thank you so much. Jeff, we're so grateful for your help. Bart, thank you. We're going to keep watching the chat here, and we are so grateful for all of you typing in yes. Just know that, think of all the things that we can accomplish together. And thank you, Michael. Thank you, Bart. We will be reviewing the chat, so please feel free to send us a direct message if you like, and we'll be sure to follow up with you. Again, you can scan the QR code or click on the link if you'd like to make a donation right away. But a simple yes, an expression of your support tonight, means so much to us. With that, as we conclude this portion, and there's more to come, so please stick with us. I know some of you want to give and are thinking about how much. Now, over the next 3 weeks, before the end of the year, we'll be sending a series of emails asking for your support. When you receive those, please hit the donate button or reply to us to schedule a time to talk about how you can support our various programs. Thank you so much, everyone. We really appreciate your commitment, your partnership. Please continue to express your support by typing yes in the chat. But now let me turn the program back over to Devon, who will share some exciting news about CHERP's engagement with LA County's energy plan. Thank you all. Devon, over to you.
All right. Thank you, Rod. Thank you, everybody. It was fantastic seeing your names come across the screen with the yeses. I'm going to take 2 minutes, and then we're going to wrap up. I want to share with you the opportunity that we have now created for the environment and for the economy and for our distressed communities throughout Los Angeles County as a model for what we envision in communities across the country. Our county is the brand name for the Los Angeles County Sustainability Plan. They call it the most bold and inclusive sustainability plan in the nation. There are many, many goals focused on not only energy, but quality of life and environment and equity and justice issues. But goal 7A particularly drew my attention. The Our County plan projects that they're putting a stake in the ground saying that they have the aspiration to install 10 gigawatts of new distributed energy resources by 2045. The problem, of course, with that is 10 gigawatts of new power, if it were delivered by solar panels, would need 30 million new solar panels at a cost of approximately $3 billion. So the aspiration is good, but we need to consider the economic impact. $3 billion would leave Los Angeles County. It would leave the state of California, and it would leave the country to purchase the hardware necessary to stand up 10 gigawatts of new distributed energy. So from everything you've heard tonight, you now know that we have built this entire distributed deployment model in order to maximize economic advantage for communities across Los Angeles and then, of course, the country. We propose a solution to install 13 locally grown power solar factories that can produce 100,000 panels per year and create over 10,000 jobs located in the most disadvantaged sectors of our community in Los Angeles County. Over the next 20 years, we could produce 30 million solar panels right here in Los Angeles County. And since we know that we have a GDP expansion multiplier of approximately 7, that represents a $21 billion economic opportunity as those jobs create more jobs, and those direct jobs create indirect jobs, and those dollars continue to recirculate inside our Los Angeles County and expand and grow as we're producing renewable energy and sustainable energy. We're also creating sustainable economic opportunity. So that really is the vision in a nutshell that we hope to do right here in Los Angeles County. We're in conversation with our supervisors and our senators and our assembly people who have already been extraordinarily supportive of our efforts. And this is a model for what we hope to be able to extend to the other communities that are on the phone tonight, waiting to be able to bring a factory to their community across the country. So we're going to conclude tonight, except for some of us will stick around for a question and answer if any of you still have the time to spend with us. But we're going to conclude the presentation tonight with a photograph of Jason, who've just built the best solar panels in the world right here in Pomona. And we're ready to welcome you to the factory and to have you start ordering panels from us. So thank you all for coming tonight. Like I say, we're grateful for all your participation and for spending time. And we will conclude now and then answer any questions that come across. So the chat is now open.